friends. I hope all is well. Today I am here to share some really exciting news. I will be attending Scotland Comic Con on the 9th and 10th of October. It'll be in Edinburgh, so be aware of that. And I will be interviewing the cast of Red Dead Redemption 2. How it happened, it's a long story. But this will include Rob Wiethoff, who plays John Marston. Last time I recorded this, I said it was Rob Wiethoff playing Rob Wiethoff, and I was like, well, it's kind of right. Roger Clark, who plays Arthur Morgan, and today's guest, who is Alex McKenna, who plays Sadie Adler. It's wild. I'm so excited to do this, and I'm so excited to meet some of you guys if you're coming. And if you are coming, leave a comment and we'll chat, we'll meet up. It'll be great. So yeah, if you come, just come. We'll party. We'll have a great time. I hope you guys enjoy the interview. All right, so hello.
Hi.
I am joined by the lovely Alex McKenna, who plays Sadie Adler in Red Dead, and I recently found out that she plays Cora's mum in The Legend of Korra.
This is true.
Just letting you know, when I find this information out, like, I was a diehard Last Airbender fan when I was little. The TV show, I'm not weird.
No, the TV show's amazing, both of them.
Yeah, and when I find that information out, I was like, this is just part of my childhood. She's not just part of my slightly adulthood.
Oh, well, I love that. I'm so glad. Yeah, it was a very, very cool project to be a part of. I got to work with some amazing actors, and yeah, Legend of Korra, anything for Nickelodeon. Just, it's great.
So I was going to ask, when you first did Sadie Adler, was this like your first time doing performance capture or working in a video game?
Absolutely. Yes.
Really?
I've done a lot of voiceover, and I've done theater, and I've done television, I've done film. And when I went to audition for this, I didn't know what it was for. I didn't know what kind of project. I was told to just arrive a little bit early because I would have to get my sides at the audition, which is, a little atypical. Normally you get them the night before, a few nights before, you have time to prepare. And in this case, they said it was very top secret. So I just assumed that it was like an Apple commercial or something. I was living in New York. And so, I was open to whatever. And I arrived, and it was like 2 pages of a monologue.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, that's a lot of material for
a commercial.
Right, I'm just going to do my best. And I went in there, and they said, we just need you to have a Western accent. I was like, I think I had just done a play where I had a Southern accent. I was like, great, perfect. And I had a great time, got a call back, was like, okay, still had no idea what it was for. Then I get a call that I need to show up at Rockstar headquarters. And I was completely gobsmacked. Just
wow.
Like, wait, what? And then they said, yeah, it's for a video game. And I grew up playing Grand Theft Auto and other games. And so, when it was Rockstar, I was so excited. And had my first adventure with motion capture where you're T-posing and you're doing your things. And, it sort of actually felt a little bit like theater, like far more theater than,
Yes.
A lot of times we get called voice actors. And while I do a lot of voiceover, this is not what we did on Red Dead Redemption 2. And it was very, very cool. And then I thought, well, that was fun. And I didn't get another call back for months to come work. So I didn't know that Sadie was a proper character for like 1.5 years, 2 years.
Wow.
I had no idea, because it was so sporadic, the working on the project. And then all of a sudden I had like 2 weeks in a row and was like, whoa, this is a real storyline that's emerging. But again, working on a video game, in my experience, it's only been Red Dead Redemption 2, but we didn't get a full script. So when you're doing a television show, when you're doing a movie, when you're doing a play, like, you have the whole thing to work off of. I had no idea. I had no idea that she was going to have this insane character arc. No clue for like quite some time that she was, a proper leading character.
I know. I'm always like so interested with that, because obviously I think women really are getting this huge space and appreciation in video games now. Like, you're getting Ellie from The Last of Us, who's like a playable character in part 2, which is like the most successful video game right now. And then you've got Sadie, and I'm like, there's just so many women that are coming along. And honestly, I think your performance was just so great, so raw. How do you feel even today still getting people like walking up to you, like telling you all these stories of how Sadie has been for you and how the team has been?
It is amazing every time. It is not something that has lost its like shimmer to me. I don't know, that's the best way to put it. You know, we worked on it for 5 years and we weren't allowed to talk to anybody about what we were doing. Half of my friends thought I had joined the CIA. I would come home, I was like sore. I went shooting for a birthday because this is like when I was prepping a little bit, and you know, I wanted to know how to do gun tricks and things. And you know, I like to really dive into a role when I get one. And my friends were like, you're bruised, you're sore, you can't tell us where you were, you don't pick up your phone. Like, what is going on?
Were you kidnapped?
Seriously, like, are you working for the Secret Service? Like, what's happening? So, you know, it was really exciting when it finally came out and we got to talk to people. You know, we spent so much time on it. And then when you play the game, for those of you that have played the game, you spend a lot of time with our characters and a lot of time with us, essentially. And so, you know, to have these beautiful connective experiences. I mean, some of the coolest things about being at a Comic-Con, which I had never done before until, you know, after this game, was getting to talk to the fans that have played and hearing how it brought them together with family members, how all of a sudden, you know, they had never cried before. And this game really gave them permission to have feelings, which, I mean, let's be honest, like in our society, we absolutely need to normalize, like crying is healthy. Otherwise, you know, why do we have tear ducts? Like, you know what I mean? You know, we're going to lose people and we need to talk about what that feels like. And so when you're that connected to Arthur, and then, you know, spoiler alert, what happens, you should feel something like that. That's important. And that's been a really, really beautiful thing, I think, because that isn't always the case in video games.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm going to be the first one to admit, and everyone knows I'm a total crier. I cry at everything. But one of the things I never really cried at was like TV shows and movies. I don't know why, I just never had that oomph. But I think with like a video game, you've obviously played like 80 plus hours of Arthur, however long you want to spend time with it. So no wonder you're going to get an emotional response to that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So
I got upset when I would hit my horse accidentally. You know, like you really connect with these things in there and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I recognize it's a video game, but still, you know, you have a real emotional reaction.
Yeah, like I'm on my 9th playthrough and literally my 9th playthrough.
Wow.
And like it got to the point like the third or fourth one, I was kind of like, okay, I will not get attached to my horse. I will give it a really stupid name. I'll just ride it for the sake of riding it and the bonding will go up anyway. But then I was like, I can't help it. I'm gonna lose Boris. No. Every time. And now I'm like, when I'm streaming it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna name my horse. What shall I name it? And now I'm like, I'm in love with this horse. I don't want to lose it. And I'm only in Valentine.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. It's a really special game. I mean, friends of mine that wanted to see what I had been working on and didn't play video games just watched it like a movie, which is what I've done a bit too, because I have a hard time sitting still at this point in my life for that amount of time. And I get so into playing that my hands cramp. And I was like known to get blisters on my thumbs from playing so hard. Like I don't know how to like relax and play. So I watched it and it, I mean, truly is just such a piece of art.
Yeah, I totally agree. So Sadie had such an emotional arc. So when you first got the script about like what was going to happen to her and her family and then her get thrown into this gang, how did you respond? Were you kind of like, oh, this is interesting, or like
Well, I got so funny enough, and a lot of the times when you're filming something, it's not linear, right? You don't actually start at the beginning when you're filming. But in this case, I had the beginning sections with Sadie in the beginning. So I really didn't know that she was going to become part of the game, become this just like, you know, badass. So we did the stuff with Micah and Dutch, and they're coming to like rescue me at my house. And, you know, I remember getting this and I was like, wow, this is heavy material as far as she's been abused and raped and her husband's been murdered in front of her eyes. And these men have just taken everything from her. And, you know, as an actor, like I joke that our superpower is that we can stand emotions that people don't really want to feel for much, much longer than the average bear. You know, we can sit in that. Some days really are full of crying and imagining whatever your process is, but you know, imagining these like horrific events that have occurred and essentially downloading them into yourself so that they're real when you're experiencing them and you're
Yes.
acting, you know. And I remember thinking like, gosh, like I don't remember video games being this like narrative
Brutal,
heavy.
yeah.
It's so brutal and dark, and you know, it was such an amazing cast, and the director was amazing. And so when it feels like it's a safe space to go that dark, then it's much easier. And everyone was so fantastic, and just, you know, really just said go for it. And I said okay. And you know, it's fun as an actor. It's hard, but it's fun to yeah, to just shine a light into the darkness.
Yeah. Well, what I love most is how obviously you've worked together for 5 years with all these people and how
Mhm.
much of a family that you've grown into. And I think you can really see it like in the gang that it's not just like, oh, these actors have just been pulled together, they're doing whatever, but you really can see the family connection. So
Oh
it
yeah.
has, are you still like that? I mean, from what I've heard, you guys are still really close. So
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
it
we
weird
are.
to kind of just say, right, okay, we're not working together for a while or whatever? But
Yes, that was really hard. I was a wreck because I think I had two or three false endings. Like they didn't
oh,
really,
really?
they weren't like, this is your last day, but it was like, well, it might be, but we may have more for you to do, which is, you know,
Yeah.
again, our release date got pushed once. So, you know, there were, it was supposed to be, I think it was maybe summer of 2018, and then it got pushed to what was it, early November, late October 28th,
October
maybe. Yeah.
26th.
um
Yeah.
but it actually got moved, which is so crazy. But you know, we as a gang, like we text all the time. We're on a group chain. We are constantly, you know, if there's a birthday, if somebody's gotten another job, I don't think we could be each other's like bigger, we couldn't be bigger champions. You know, everybody
Yeah,
really,
cheerleaders of each other.
yes, like loves and respects one another, and we have fun together. I'm so looking forward to coming to Scotland because I get to
Oh, yeah.
go with Roger and Rob, and you know, I've had the great privilege of going to Comic Cons with groups of us, and we have a blast. Like we adore each other, and I'm so grateful that these people came into my life. I mean, it truly has been an honor to have worked on Red Dead Redemption 2 and to play Sadie. And also the cherry was like, I got all of these incredible friends. They're not just, you know, compatriots in work. It's their actual
Yeah,
true
your
friends in life.
family. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I love that you guys are going to Comic Con in Scotland, especially that it's Edinburgh, because like I've gone to MCM in Glasgow and that's so far away from me, whereas Edinburgh's like
Mm.
30 minutes.
Oh,
And
great.
yes, I'm like, yes. And I'm kind of like, oh, Edinburgh's great, but I've never seen it to a con before. So that's interesting for me. But
Yeah.
um it's also going to be my first time interviewing like at a con. So I think that's really unusual. So please be gentle. I'm kidding. I thought you're gonna be like, oh,
See,
who's
we're
this
all
person?
we're all very, very kind. I mean, I hope you can tell. You know,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
we're and we're fans, and I of the game. Like I hope that comes across too. Like yes, we
Mm,
worked on it, but also um I think we loved what we were doing. We loved the characters we were playing. We loved the story. Like yeah, I'll speak for myself, but I feel comfortable being able to say that as a generalization for all of us. You know,
mm,
we loved what we were able to create together, and yeah, it was a really special experience. Not every set is like that. So
yeah.
when it comes along and you love the people, you love the director, you love the team. I mean, 2,000 people worked on this game, which is mind blowing.
Yeah. So I spoke to Steve recently, and one of the things that we spoke about was like on-set routines, like and little rituals that you guys did. Was there ever anything that you did before you were called onto set, or maybe while you were waiting, or
Well, I would say that there was a period of time when we would be, because we weren't allowed to talk to other people about it, we signed these very, very intense NDAs. We would run lines with each other, and we would, you know, try to get as on it as we could with one another, which was always really wonderful and bonding. And then also we would trade scripts because there would be sections of the story that I don't, I never had access to. I wouldn't know. And so we would share sides so that we would get a bigger picture of what was actually going on. But I feel like the only little funny thing that I had was with Rob when we were working on a lot of our stuff in the epilogue. We had this joke because we would rehearse together, we'd practice, and then we'd come out and we'd do it. And sometimes we would get it in like 1 take or 2 takes. And so we got this funny little dance that we started to do like every time that we were like, moving and grooving and getting more work done than they anticipated for the day. And so we would have this like ridiculous, funny little jig that we would do and just crack ourselves up. So I guess that was a bit of a ritual. It's like a little celebration when we were doing a good job.
I love that. I also love the I know that I just said that you guys are all close as a unit, but like the women especially, I love that you guys are always like hanging out with each other. Even like through the pandemic, I've seen like you guys like FaceTiming and chatting or whatever, and we're like, oh, I have this little like, oh, my heart's just full of love. I just love you guys so much.
They're wonderful. It's funny because I felt like I had the least amount of time with the females in the gang because Sadie rides with the boys mostly. So I actually became closer to all the women. Callie and I had many scenes, the one who plays Abigail. She's incredible. And we had like really emotional scenes. And when she came out to LA, she came to stay with me in my house. Like we're friends. And I was friendly with the women. And once the game came out, and then we, were celebrating, and I flew to New York for the release, and all of a sudden, these other women who I had, we'd been friends and maybe had grabbed a drink, but maybe not, honestly, started becoming close afterwards. And so, it's really wild that I at least honed the friendship after the game came out more so than during it, because we never got to really work together one-on-one, any of us, except for Callie and me. But they're all so incredible. I mean, each one, first of all, like, could there be more beautiful women? It's mind-blowing.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then, right, they're all so stunning. And then so cool and fun and smart. And yeah, it's really special when we're all together, because there truly are elements in all of us of our characters. It's really wild. Casting did a really good job.
Was there a moment in the game especially where you maybe disagreed with Sadie's actions, or?
That's interesting. Well, I do understand the pull to avenge someone, right?
To kill as many O'Driscolls as possible.
Absolutely. And honestly, I think about that, and in her, at least how I justified it, like, those people do no good for anyone. All they do is hurt people, wreak havoc, destroy lives. And in that case, it is rather a noble mission.
Fair game.
I mean, truly, do I subscribe to that kind of violence? No. But do I believe in her dedication to loyalty and her being protective of the people she loves? Absolutely. Like, I can completely align with that. Alex, don't go into bars and stab people when they're rude to me. So maybe that's where we diverge. But, she's a tough cookie. She's a phoenix that rises from the ashes and creates a chosen family, essentially. And as somebody who's lost both their parents, their grandparents, and a lot of people that are very close to me, I understand that. My family have been the family that I've chosen. The people in my life, my friends, they're it, So, there are a lot of similarities. I mean, I really do think Sadie's a wee bit misunderstood, but if you think about the timeline and how women were perceived back then, and all of a sudden she is an equal, her partnership with her husband was equal. That's
unheard of.
Right. So, I think, and it's not that far, women have to prove themselves twice as hard as men do,
Oh,
like
of course, yeah.
and it's still the case, unfortunately. And even then it was just different, and there weren't laws protecting women. We were property. So I think Sadie has to command respect and this badassery, essentially, because otherwise it's, why don't you go make dinner and help the chef, I ain't chopping vegetables for a living is like, really, she'll do half the work, but you have to do it too. It shouldn't be about your gender.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. I hate how I sometimes I feel like I know where I'm going, and then the next second I'm like, what was I gonna ask?
No
I'm so
worries.
professional.
We're just having a chat.
We're just chatting. Yeah, so oh my god, what's wrong with me today? It's been a weird one. I'm so sorry.
No worries. What time is it over there?
It's like 8:00 at night.
Okay, 8:00.
I worked I'll just say 13 hours yesterday, and like I was so tired, like I was completely numb from like the left side. I could barely walk, and
oh, no.
Like, will I make this interview because I can't even walk to the bathroom? Well, I'll see what I can do.
Oh no. Well, what do you do to take care of yourself?
I would sleep it off. Yeah, I think I need to get now. I think you'll definitely have these tips, but I need to kind of look after myself, and you look like the kind of person that does. Like, do you do kind of yoga or Pilates or any kind of stuff?
I do Pilates. I like to go to spin class. I love to dance.
Oh, I'd love to try that.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's just taking a long walk, just moving is really important. I think during the pandemic, everyone was terrified to go outside. B, I got depressed. Like, I don't know many people that didn't get depressed. And at the same time, I was doing audiobook after audiobook. And, to prep an audiobook, I sit and read. And then to do the audiobook out loud, I'm sitting and reading out loud. And you can't really move, and you have to keep but I was sedentary for like months, which is not me. And my body hurt, my mind didn't feel good. I was just unwell. I really do think, you don't need to go to CrossFit to take care of yourself. You can just, do something that you find that makes you feel good and that gets your blood moving. And yoga, I go through phases with, but Pilates is one of my favorites, and dancing and just, walking outside. I think I always underestimate how much better I feel when I go into nature, even if that means on a hike somewhere or down by water. I find really, really healing. I mean, I'd love to swim. I don't have a pool. I would love one, because I just think that, that sort of exercise without the impact, without, the same kind of like friction is really wonderful. And water's just really healing, I think.
Oh, I love a good swim.
Yeah,
that's the thing as well. I think I would do more swimming myself, but then like in Scotland, if you thought about going into the sea, you'd probably get hypothermia and die or something. But
for sure, that is some cold water, really cold water.
But I've seen on like Instagram and stuff, people doing wild swims. So like they're either in wetsuit gear or just normal swimming costumes, and they're just jumping into the sea. Like the I don't even know what I don't know the name of our rivers and stuff. I really should, but the fourth, the
geography.
That's what
geography is a lost art.
You must think I'm a total idiot.
No, not at all. No, geography is not my strong suit either.
It never was. I think history definitely is. So I think what's drawn me more to Red Dead as well is that like learning more about the past, like learning about ways of the West and things like that. Totally. Absolutely love that kind of stuff. So because of COVID, you've had to like work from home. Did you have to do like what a lot of voice actors have to do, kind of like make a wardrobe your studio, or did you find another way around it?
No, it's this is my office, because I write as well as act and do voiceover and whatnot. And then funny enough, in this room, there's a closet that is like the perfect size for a voiceover booth. The issue is that it's not fully soundproof. So, when there were a lot of protests during the the pandemic, Black Lives Matter really like just came into full force, and I'm near downtown Los Angeles. And so there were just nonstop helicopters, and that made
Oh
it
no.
really, really difficult to record. But I did the best that I could. And I did a lot of work. It was good. I mean, being in a tiny closet with no air is not as glamorous as it might sound. But it was great. I mean, I was very, very fortunate to be able to work a little bit during that time.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that COVID literally made you depressed. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Mhm.
And that I also find that video games really do, because especially because Red Dead is so expansive, like you'd literally, especially how I've discovered I could use my headphones and get more immersed.
Mhm.
It's really helped me with my depression. And I think a lot of people can agree with that. So if somebody was to walk up to you and say, this game has helped me in a way mentally, how would that make you feel as an
Oh,
actor and this is a human being who's
well,
experienced that kind of pain?
it warms my heart. That I think those are the things that truly connect us all, that give us more empathy for one another. And, the one sure thing is we will all experience loss. Absolutely. We're alive, and the way that we know we're alive is because we die, and that's coming for every single human, and we ignore it. And when you have a story, because essentially, Red Dead Redemption 2, it's an interactive story, but you're in this world and you're a part of this story. And so to feel it, it means A, we did a good job, which always feels good, and B, it just gives us this shared experience. And I think it's really special. It truly is. It's an adventure that we've all gone on together. And yeah, I don't, it has not gotten old. I can't imagine it ever will, when somebody comes up and says that they loved RDR2, that they love Sadie, that they love the story, that they felt emotional. I mean, that it's why I do what I do. I love to tell stories. And I think, it's important that people can relate and get lost, and at the same time find parts of themselves that perhaps they wouldn't have had any context for. I think we all get so into working so hard and needing this and needing that, and we don't often take the time to see how we're really feeling, like our internal landscape. And when you get to be in a different world, for some reason, sometimes it's easier to feel what you're actually feeling, or to have that
Mhm.
permission to be emotional, to be softer, because it's easy to get hard and tough. And I think it's it's quite beautiful, and it's frankly a sign of strength when you can feel, because not everyone wants to do that. It's scary, but it's important, and it just means that you are alive.
Yeah. Well, what advice, because you've shared something like really personal earlier, and what would you say to somebody who was experiencing loss? How would you say to somebody how to process that, or
Oof.
just
Well, I
help
mean, that's
people?
that's a funny thing. I wish I knew exactly. I'm actually working on a podcast called Good Grief: The Gains of Loss.
Mm.
And it's out of my own experience of losing both parents by the time I was 31, and
Wow.
being an only child. And since then I've lost, and these are the people that were obviously the closest to me. And then both my grandparents, to whom I was very, very close. And I'm an artist, I'm an actor, a writer, and all these things, but all of a sudden I had to learn about filing 5 sets of taxes. I had to learn about I had to understand the difference between probate and a letter of testamentary. Like, this is like crazy, crazy shit that, never in a million years would I have thought. Like, now you're going to have a real understanding and a lot of experience in this world of what happens when somebody dies or when somebody gets sick. So, also part of that is like, I'm still processing my grief. I don't know. I would just say there's no wrong way to do it except to ignore it, and
Mm.
one of the hardest things that I learned was how to ask for help, how to say, like, I'm actually having a really
Yes.
hard time.
Mhm.
I don't know what to do. And then also, for the people that want to help the people that are going through it and hurting, like, you don't have to try to fix it. You can't fix it. So the best thing to do is just to sit there and hold space, to be able to say, I'm so sorry. That fucking sucks. I'm here for you. That's it. And it's like, it feels, and I mean, it's awful, but it feels amazing when somebody can just do that and not say like, well, I'm sure it happened for a reason, or they're in a better place, or like none of that is helpful.
No.
It may be true. It's not helpful. Like the person going through it doesn't want to hear that. And also don't ask the person who's going through the grief, who's going through the loss, what they need, because they don't know. So just do something. Just, send toilet paper, write a card, send a flower, like, just to show that there's support, because in my experience, and I've talked to many, many people, and will on the podcast, they'll be guests and then they'll be experts. So, I will talk to a mortician, and I will talk to an estate lawyer, and I will talk to, those kinds of experts. And then I will talk to people who are just dealing with their own kind of loss. But yeah, I mean, just you're not alone is really the thing to remember, because it feels incredibly lonely and incredibly isolating. And, some people won't know how to handle it, and some people don't respond very well when you try to talk to them, and that's okay. But other people will. So I think the more open you can be, the better.
Yeah, I know in my experience, and this is just like with loss and things, but I'm a bottler. I bottle all my emotions, and I just get it to a point where I completely break and can't cope. And I know I keep having to tell myself that's not the way to do it. And sometimes I don't share anything, and sometimes I don't overshare. So, but then again, that's not always a bad thing. Like, it's not bad to just offload on somebody, although it might be bad if your friend doesn't want to hear it. But
well, but you'll know. I mean, there's just
when it's too much.
Yeah, certain people are good at different things, and that's the beauty of having friends. The same person that you want to go out dancing with might not be the same person that you can sit quietly with in a park and read, if you just want to have company, but you don't want to talk, and that's the beauty of figuring that out. It's hopefully people have a community or support, and also there's no shame in talking to a professional. I really believe in therapy, but I believe in therapy in the way that, just like you would pick your friends, just like you would date, like, is this the right fit? Is this person pushing you a little bit in a healthy way, instead of, and again, the people that say that they don't like therapy, I'm like, okay, why though? And they're like, well, nothing's wrong with me. I don't need to be fixed. I'm like, whoa. That's not what therapy does. Like, it's taking a class in yourself. So much of us are a response to our childhood, to our trauma, to our parents. And aren't you curious why you are the way you are? I know I am. I mean, I have to be for my job, because if I didn't know how I am, then how am I supposed to actually pretend to be somebody else? Because my issues are going to come up unless I know what my issues are, because the character that I'm playing doesn't have the same issues that I have. So I need to be really, really crystal clear on what my shit is, so that I can create the world and the experience of this character that I'm trying to bring to life.
Yeah, I know. In my experience, I love acting. I'm actually, because I tried to join an Amdram club when I was a few years ago, then COVID hit, and then all that stuff happened. So I've not had a chance to join yet.
Right.
But I've always loved acting, and I got bullied a lot at school, and I really didn't like myself. But the reason why I loved acting so much is that I didn't have to be myself. I could just indulge in this total different character, and then I could just, when I'm out of the character, I could have that buzz after being on that set, and then just go and get on the rest of my day. So it's honestly so great. So what advice would you have to somebody who's just starting out on acting?
Oh man, take class, read every play, watch all the movies that inspire you. Just take classes. Like, really, it's a craft. You wouldn't expect to get to the Olympics if you didn't train.
Yes.
So I feel like people, and because of reality TV and whatnot, people think, well, I could just do it and then I'll be famous. And if that's what you want to do, that's something else. What I do, what the actors that worked on Red Dead Redemption do, we're trained. We're actors who have, worked with different different teachers, different uh, theories around how sometimes people like to work from imagination, other times people like to work from experience. I've taken a million dialect classes. I've done Alexander technique. I mean, movement, is a part of it because we use our whole bodies. You are you, as you're not just here. And so you plays, read plays, work. And again, a lot of what's important is working on your emotional life and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's what we do. It's like I said earlier, it's sort of our superpower to be able to stay in these places that most people don't even want to touch emotionally. So yeah, just take classes and get comfortable with yourself, get curious about who you are so that you don't take that into every character.
It is so good to hear an actor say that movement is involved, because I remember I went to acting school for a little bit, but it got to a point where I couldn't afford it, so I had to drop out, which I still am really sad to this day. But we have to do a movement class every Wednesday, and that was like not just like, oh, here I'm a tree or whatever. It was like full on physical workout for like an hour, and then we'd start all this other stuff. And everyone around me is like, oh, well, but I didn't sign up for a workout class. And I'm like, if you're gonna be an actor, you're gonna be running about, you're gonna be on stage every night, you're gonna be doing all sorts of your body. You need to be physically fit. Like,
yeah, that's funny to me because I don't like, this is our vessel. This is the instrument that we use. It's your whole body. When we talk, we use our whole body. I can't even imagine how that could be separate.
Yeah.
That's really funny that I'm not, again, boxers take ballet classes because it's important to be able to be light on your feet and do those things, like actors need to take movement classes because, again, I mean, part of how do you walk? The way that Sadie walks is different than the way Alex walks. The way that, like, that's something to really think about. I mean, some actors I know work from the inside out or the outside in, and I kind of like to do both at the same time. So it was actually very cool working on Red Dead and then asking, what does Sadie look like here? Because, when she's wearing a dress, it's really different than when she finally puts on like her clothes. Like she walks a little bit different. She is a little different. Like she's more comfortable in her own skin, dressed to reflect who she is versus, wearing the frilly hat and the big thing and the, yeah.
So I'm beginning to ask you, because you're going to Scotland. Is this your first time going? No. What part of Scotland did you go to?
Well, I went to school in England for a year in 2004, 2005. And so I took, might have been nearly a 3-week trip where I went to Scotland. I saw Edinburgh. I saw, I guess we went, I don't remember. I mean, we went to Edinburgh and then I don't remember if we went through the like middle or if we went up the side to Glasgow. And then from there, then went to Ireland and did a whole tour of Ireland.
Nice.
But I mean, I absolutely love Scotland. I had the best fish and chips I've ever had in my life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Edinburgh. I think the reason why I prefer Glasgow is because it's so easy to maneuver. I think like I was talking to Rob about this, like how New York is like squares, so it's like it is kind of easy, but at the same time it's hard to get lost. Whereas Glasgow's almost exactly the same in the fact that it's like squares and you can kind of tell where you're going. Whereas in Edinburgh, it's kind of like, no, I have no idea where I'm going or what I'm doing.
Yeah, lots of like windy streets and yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a friend and she's like, she loves Scotland and she's obsessed with Edinburgh. And she was like, oh, is that the old town you're taking a photo of? And I was like, I have not a clue. I have no idea where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm so excited to get back there. I was just talking to Rob and Roger, and I was like, should we stay an extra day? Can we do something fun? Because I haven't been there since 2005. So it's been a minute. I'm sure it's changed a wee bit.
I know Rob's never been. I think he said he's never been to Europe, and I was a bit like, okay, damn.
Wow, really? Maybe that's true. I don't know. I'll have to
I
ask
don't
him.
know. I think he said something about a flight and that he had to like swap over Europe and then had to go on another flight. But he said that's like the only time I was actually in Europe. And like, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, I know that they've gone to some cool places with the cons. Yeah, yeah, it's exciting.
I'm thinking what I'm most excited for is to like see people and actually be able to hug people at cons, because it's like I remember when MCM Birmingham was meant to happen and Rob and Roger and Ben were supposed to come.
Mhm.
I was excited, but I was like, are we going to be able to touch these people? Or are we going to be able to like shake their hand or give them a hug or anything? And now I'm kind of like, well, things are settling a bit. Maybe we can. I don't know. But
Maybe, I don't know. Things are getting wild here in Los Angeles again, where masks are back on inside. People are getting COVID again, even everybody who's fully vaccinated. It's really intense. I mean, it's not as scary in the sense it's highly unlikely you'll end up in the hospital if you're vaccinated and you get it, but
yeah,
it's still it's scary. It's having a little upswing. So I don't know if we'll
we're
be able to touch people or if we'll
we're
be able to hug.
exactly the same, because we've gone down to level 0, which is like we still need to wear masks in shops and things like that, but it's
Mhm.
still pretty much like I'm practically going to just say anybody can come into your house now, because basically they can. And I know in England it's kind of like they've completely dropped the restrictions now. They've like, you don't have to wear masks in shops, you don't have to wear masks or socially distance, and I'm like, you're idiots. Like, and there's no easy way to say it, but you're idiots.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, so we'll see. Who knows? TBD.
I know. Because that's one of the things as well. I remember because I'm in it's like a community chat, and on the Scotland Comic Con Facebook page, and they were saying like, what questions are you asking? Everyone's asking like the most irrelevant questions ever. No shade, but I was like, so what's the mask situation? Do you know anything about that? And they're like, no, we're only gonna find out when the government does. And I'm like, all right, okay, fair play.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, it's interesting because they are indoors. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, my experience with the cons has been we take photos, everybody's like there. It's it was very yeah, we were in very close proximity, and everyone that we were meeting, was right here, and I've no clue if we'll have to wear masks or not, or
so it is quite scary, but I think we'll get there. I'm sure hopefully things will get better, more people will be vaccinated, and I don't know.
yeah,
It's a weird one.
yeah,
It's a weird time to be alive right now.
absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah.
strange.
So this really did take a bit of a grim turn.
Well, it's just part of what we're dealing with in real life. Doing the best we
So
can.
what has been the most memorable moment for you being part of this group and part of this experience?
I feel like we're still having them. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess.
I will say it was very, very cool on like a personal, like, my inside geek, to go to New York and to see Sadie posters in the subway and to see my face essentially on a giant billboard. And I have a photo, it's somewhere on my Instagram where I'm like this, like with my like guns up like that. And then Sadie is like above me. And I'm in Soho, or I guess technically it would be NoHo in New York City. And here's this giant billboard. And I'm like, holy shit, this is so cool. That was pretty awesome. And I was going to meet some friends at a bar and went into the subway and was like, oh my God, this is cool.
Did that stuff like, was this like before the NDA was kind of like, oh, you could tell people now, or was this like after?
I think it was right after, like the
I was
game.
about to say if that was before, you would have just been like,
Yeah, no, I mean
Everything in.
that's a really good question. I'd have to look back. I'm terrible with chronology. I would have to look back on my Instagram, but I think it was right when the game got released, so we were allowed to announce it. Or maybe we were allowed to announce who we were in the game right
All
before
right,
it
okay.
became released. Like there was something, we got an email and it was like, you can say this. We were like, okay, fantastic.
I could just imagine you entering the subway and you seeing your character and you're like, I really want to say something, but I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. A few of my friends were like mad at me that I didn't tell them. And I said, I'm not going to jeopardize my relationship with Rockstar. Not a chance. I love working for them. I want to work for them again, you know? Oh my goodness.
If Sadie had a standalone game, would you go for it?
1,000%.
I think we need it.
Don't even have to hesitate. Again, everyone asks me. I have no idea. I have not heard of anything. No, I am not working on anything right now. That has to do with that. But yes, if Rockstar was to come calling, 1,000% yes.
Well, I think this is a good time to leave it. But is there anything you want to say to the people out there?
Oh man, well, just thank you. Thank you for playing. Thank you for being in this wild world that we've created. And I really do think it's so special, and to get to share that is, it never ceases to amaze me how this game has been able to affect people and connect people. And yeah, it's been an honor and a privilege to play Sadie. I love her. I miss her. I can't, but yeah, thank you for playing, and yeah, be kind to your horse and be kind to yourself.
Well, that's so lovely. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a huge honor. And I'm so excited to meet you properly in
just a few months away.
I know. I'm also, because I'll share it on here because I've basically shared it everywhere else, but I'm getting a Red Dead tattoo in September. So I'm very excited to, I actually don't know yet, because I said to the artist, I was like, I'd quite like a deer because like that's for Arthur. And then she was like, I am a huge fan of Red Dead. I will come up with something super cool. And then she was like, I could put shell casings on it. I could put a bit of his grave on it, or I could put his hat. And I'm like, you know what? I trust you on this. If you're a fan, I trust you. So awesome. I'm like, I don't know what she's going to come up with, but I'm buzzing. So
that is amazing. Oh, that's amazing. I tried to convince the gang that we should all get something that just like connected us all, like a little hat would be cool. But I was thinking, I would love Outlaws for Life somewhere. I've got a bunch of tattoos all over, and yeah, just a little Outlaws for Life would be very cool.
That would be really cute.
I don't know, maybe I'll convince Rob and Roger to go and start the group off when we're in Scotland.
I'll drag you to the nearest tattoo parlor.
Okay. Could be cool. It'd be a story.
Well, thank you so much again. And I hope you have a really lovely day.
Yeah, you too. Lovely chatting. And I'll see you soon.
I'll see you soon. I'm going to stop.